The ultimate odor counteractant systems for restrooms. The key to really effective odor control in restrooms is to apply the odor counteractant or neutralizer to the source of odors, the toilet bowl and urinal. This is where the odors start, and this is where AeroWest gets to work. Nothing replaces good cleaning and sanitation. However, in spite of the most effective sanitation program, there is a need for a system in between cleaning and sanitation to combat the odors that are caused by people using the fixtures. Typically, the airborne smells coming from the use of toilet fixtures are made worse by people forgetting to flush or splashing the porcelain in areas that are not flushed. Urine splashes give off offensive smells in between cleaning operations. Therefore, they are best neutralized by an effective odor counteractant actually dispensed into the toilet fixture and the flush water. This is where the AeroWest system comes in. Only the AeroWest system gets to the source of odor problems, directly into the urinal and toilet bowl. This system offers enormous advantages over the customary air fresheners that only dispense a fragrance or sanitizer into the air. AeroWest best fulfills its function in heavily used restrooms of hospitals, office buildings, manufacturing plants, service industries, colleges, restaurants, sports stadiums, transit locations, ships, and all other locations where people are gathered together and use common restroom facilities. AeroWest is no exception from the rule that any system, to be effective, has to be properly installed, maintained, and serviced. However, before we get into this, we need to know the AeroWest dispenser and the parts that make it effective. Know the AeroWest dispenser. The strong, flexible, and easy-to-clean AeroWest dispenser is made of tough polypropylene. Unlike any other dispenser on the market, the AeroWest unit is molded in one piece in a rigidly controlled molding process. In this way, we ensure consistency of product with a simplicity of design and ease of maintenance. As you can see, the dispenser cover is permanently attached to the base by a triple living hinge, which allows the dispenser to close and fit flush to the wall. The reservoir is also attached with a living hinge on the back plate and is firmly held in position by two catches and the dispensing tubing lock. The dispenser tubing is firmly attached to the inside of the AeroWest dispenser by means of the tubing lock. One end of the dispenser tubing is drilled out with a conical drill and slotted so that it exactly fits over the dispenser outlet nipple and is firmly held in place by the two side ridges, which fit snugly into the slots cut into the tubing. The hole in the back of the dispenser allows the reservoir to be formed in the molding process. This hole is filled up by an insert plate which is attached prior to the dispenser being mounted in position on the wall. Although there are 5 holes that can be used to attach the AeroWest dispenser to the wall, only 4 of these holes are normally used. How does the AeroWest system work? The objective of the AeroWest system is to evenly dispense the AeroWest odor counteractant into the toilet bowl and urinal. Dispensing is achieved with a simple wicking action that takes the odor counteractant from the front reservoir to the back reservoir and then down the dispenser tubing into the toilet fixture. A fixed level of odor counteractant is assured in the front reservoir by the specially molded bottle and cap used to hold the AeroWest odor counteractant. Now that we understand how the AeroWest system works, we have to make sure that it is properly installed to give the most attractive appearance and provide the most effective and trouble-free dispenser. AeroWest installation. As you can see, all of these dispensers have been carefully installed to provide a uniform, attractive appearance in the restroom. Note how all of the dispensers over the urinals are at exactly the same height. Also, the dispensers are exactly vertical, and all of the tubes are straight and carefully formed at the end so that the odor counteractant is dispensed directly into the base of the urinal. Be prepared. In every carton of AeroWest dispensers, there are 16 units. The dispensing bottles are already mounted in the units. In the same carton, there are 16 dispensing tubes and 16 packets of installation hardware, 1 per dispenser. Therefore, everything required to attach the dispenser to the wall is in the carton. Additionally, the appropriate tools and equipment are needed to avoid wasting time and to make the installation as easy as possible. The ideal installation kit. A carpenter's belt is used by service people to hold all the necessary tools. This saves time and energy having to bend down into a toolbox if no belt is used. A rechargeable drill in which a number 8 Phillips head bit is permanently inserted. A second drill is used to make the hole in the masonry. A steel tape to measure dispenser location on dry walls and similar surfaces. An installer needs a sharp pencil or fine felt-tip pen to mark the position for drilling holes in the wall. A Phillips screwdriver to back up the drill. A PVC pipe cutter is best for cutting the tubing. A small hammer for inserting the anchors. A needle nose and snub-nosed pliers and a flathead screwdriver may be needed to remove other dispensers from the wall. If there is a problem mounting the dispensers exactly vertical on drywall or non-tiled surfaces, then a small spirit level should be added. Finally, installation hardware is already in the carpenter's belt. This includes anchors, screws, saddle clamps, and stainless steel rods, which complete the items for installing AeroWest dispensers. Installation over urinals. The old-fashioned original type of urinal was very large and stretched all the way to the floor. This large, expensive type of installation is being replaced with smaller urinals, which do not reach the floor. In fact, the position of urinals is getting lower and lower on the wall in order to accommodate children and small people. The same principle of the installation of the AeroWest dispenser applies with large, small, high, or low urinals. When installing the AeroWest, the objective is to have the AeroWest odor counteractant drip directly into the base of the urinal. If you allow the end of the dispensing tube to drip the fluid on the wall of the urinal, there will be a temporary, unsightly blue mark until the fixture is flushed. Note that for installations where there is a flush valve, the AeroWest dispenser and tubing is always mounted on the opposite side of the flush valve handle. This helps prevent casual interference with the system by people using the urinal. Note that in all of the installations, the saddle clamps are firmly anchored at the bottom of the tubing where it comes away from the wall and close to the top of the tubing where it joins the dispenser. This is important for appearance and limits the risk of vandalism. Provided that the basic rules of installation of AeroWest are followed, you will always end up with a neat, attractive installation. Installation over toilet bowls. As you can see, the principle of installation over toilet bowls is similar to that of urinals. Remember, the AeroWest dispenser opens from left to right. To get the opener into the left-hand side, the dispenser should not be mounted too close to a left-hand wall or partition. Otherwise, you cannot get it opened. Similarly, do not install too close to a right-hand wall. Otherwise, the dispenser cover cannot be opened sufficiently to remove the bottle and service the unit. Rules of AeroWest installation. Always keep the AeroWest dispenser mounted at the same height over the fixtures, particularly urinals. Always have the dispenser tubing vertical. The installation of the unit must allow for the dispensing tubing to continue in a vertical direction, although it is okay to have short horizontal sections. However, never have the tubing positioned in such a way as to require the odor counteractant fluid to flow upwards. It will not work. Always have the end of the dispensing tubing as near as possible to the center of the back of the urinal or toilet bowl. Always mount dispenser and clamps with anchors and screws to ensure a permanent vandal-proof installation. Before deciding on the position, take the dispenser with the 4 feet of tubing already attached and feed the tubing to the fixture. By doing this, you make certain that you do not install the dispenser too high and that the tubing will reach from the dispenser to the bowl. Hold the dispenser open and mark, through the slots in the dispenser back, the position on the wall for drilling holes for the anchors. In the event that no holes may be drilled into the tile, install dispensers with 3 screws by positioning 2 of the anchors on the same side of the dispenser in the vertical grouting and 1 of the other anchors in the horizontal grouting. Use a 7/32 inch 6 mm masonry bit to drill holes for the anchors. In drywall, a 3/16 inch 5 mm masonry drill bit may be used to provide a tighter fit for the anchors. After drilling the holes, insert the anchors provided and hammer firmly into place. Mount the dispenser using the Phillips head screws provided. Before tightening the screws, check that the dispenser is mounted square to the horizontal and vertical wall lines. 3 of the screw slots in the back of the dispenser allow for a slight adjustment. Tighten screws in their anchors. 2 tubing clamps are supplied with each dispenser. They should be slipped on the dispenser tubing with the screw holes on the same side of the tube. It helps to have 1 clamp attached at the top of the tubing near the dispenser and the other clamp at the point where the tubing bends away from the wall to the fixture. If there is a very short length of tubing from the dispenser to the fixture, the top clamp can be left out. Drill holes for the clamps only into horizontal grout on tiled walls after marking the spot with the clamps in place and with the tubing in an exactly vertical position. Insert the anchors in the holes and tighten the clamps on the wall using the Phillips head screws provided. To form the final bend of the tubing in the fixture, cut to the required length and insert a length of the 6-inch stainless steel rod provided with the installation hardware. Before bending the tube to the required angle, push in the rod so that it is at least 1/2 inch countersunk into the hole. If this is not done, the rod will stick out the end of the tubing when it is bent into shape. To complete the installation, first insert a wick already correctly positioned in the wick holder. Secondly, insert a dispenser bottle already filled with the AeroWest odor counteractant fluid diluted with 12 parts water. Always clean up after the installation has been made. Use a damp paper towel to pick up any residual plaster and wipe all surfaces that may have become soiled during the installation. Now the installation is complete. Servicing the system. Before going into details of how to service the dispenser, we need to know how the dispenser works. As you can see from this dispenser with the side panel cut out, when a filled bottle of AeroWest is inserted in the dispenser, the liquid odor counteractant will flow until it reaches the cap, when it creates a vacuum in the bottle and stops flowing. Nothing further will happen unless there is a means of transferring the odor counteractant fluid from the front reservoir to the rear reservoir and then out through the dispenser tubing into the toilet or urinal. This is accomplished by using a wick held in place by a wick holder that performs the necessary function of liquid transfer from one reservoir to another. The wick consists of 5 strands of cotton, which are the main conduit for the AeroWest fluid, held together with a sheath of synthetic woven fabric. As you can see, the end of the wick in the back reservoir that feeds out through the dispenser tubing is lower than the end of the wick lying in the front reservoir. This height differential is a key factor in the dispensing rate of the odor counteractant. The wick dispenses the AeroWest odor counteractant at a rate of approximately 1 drop every 2 minutes, 1 ounce per day, 1 quart every 4 weeks. Depending on how the wick is adjusted, local conditions, and airflow in the restroom. Neutralization of fecal and urine odors is obtained by direct contact with the AeroWest fluid in the toilet bowl and urinal and when these fixtures are flushed. A pleasant, mild fragrance spreads throughout the restroom from the airflow in the room going through the louvers in the front of the dispenser, as well as from evaporation from the surface of the fixtures and from an aerosol effect when the fixtures are flushed. Placing the wick in the wick holder. It is important to properly place the wick in the wick holder. The front of the wick holder, which is embossed front and top, is placed properly in position in the dispenser with front facing the dispenser cover. Be careful not to pinch the wick, otherwise the wick will not dispense properly. Pinching of the wick can also be caused by incorrectly inserting the wick in the wick holder or incorrectly placing the wick holder in the AeroWest dispenser. Most service people pre-thread the wicks in the wick holders and have these in their pockets before they service a customer. In this way, they save valuable time on their service route. Changing the odor counteractant. Open the AeroWest dispenser by sharply pushing the cover down and to the left with one hand and support the bottom of the dispenser with an upwards force with the other hand. This bows the cover, thus releasing it from the first set of catches and creating a small gap between the dispenser cover and the wall. Insert the key into the gap to pull the cover off the second catch. Then swing it open. Note the amount of fluid left in the bottle, because this shows how much AeroWest fluid has been dispensed since the last service. This is just right. Take out the bottle, and in the event there is a small amount of odor counteractant left in the bottle, pour it down one of the fixtures to boost the fragrance level at the time of the service. Either you will come to the customer with pre-filled bottles, or you will dilute the odor counteractant on the customer's premises by filling the empty bottle with cold water up to the water fill point. If you fill the bottle with old counteractant in the bottom, you will create foam. Therefore, overfill the bottle with water, allowing the water to run out. Then, pour out the excess water to the correct water fill line. Pour in the odor counteractant concentrate to the fluid fill line. After you have taken out the wick holder and dispensing bottle, you should look at the condition of the reservoir and the inside cover. If it needs cleaning, then this should be done prior to replacing the odor counteractant fluid. Also, before replacing the bottle, the wick should be changed. Close the AeroWest cover and make sure that the catch is properly engaged by pushing in the left-hand side of the cover towards the catch. The final stage will be to wipe down the dispenser and make sure that any spillages, etc., are cleaned up. Adjusting the fluid dispensing rate. The position of the wick is noted when the bottle is removed for refilling. If the bottle and front reservoir are empty, this means the odor counteractant is flowing too quickly. Empty front reservoir equals dispensing too fast. If the flow rate is too fast, an adjustment needs to be made at the time of servicing the dispenser prior to positioning the new wick. Raising the back end of the wick in the wick holder, as shown, reduces the height difference between the two reservoirs and will slow down the dispensing rate. Also, the flow rate is reduced by increasing the height of the wick loop and reducing the amount of the wick that rests in the front reservoir. When servicing the dispenser, if the bottle is partially full, it means that the unit is dispensing too slowly. Partially full bottle equals dispensing too slowly. Should the dispensing rate be too slow, there are several checks to be made before the wick is adjusted. Check the dispenser tubing and make sure there are no obstructions. An ear syringe is very useful to do this work and for cleaning out the dispenser on a regular basis. If the tubing is blocked, tap the tubing with a screwdriver in case there is an airlock. And if this still does not clear the tubing, make sure that the hole in the rear reservoir is not blocked by using a length of the stainless steel rod to clean the hole. If the tube is still blocked, cut off approximately 1/2 inch of the tubing at the dispensing end, remove the stainless steel wire, and flush through the tube using the syringe, since the blockage might be caused by dirt at the end of the tube stuck around the stainless steel insert. If none of these steps work and the tubing is still blocked, it has to be replaced. Having checked the tubing and not finding it to be blocked, then the wick must be the cause of the system flowing too slowly. As you can see from this wick, it was not correctly positioned. A darkening of the wick will always occur if it is pinched or obstructed, as can be seen from this example. Obviously, If the system is blocked or the wick is old, discolored, crimped, or pulled up too far in the wick holder, then correcting these items should correct the slow dispensing rate. If none of these problems exist, then the wick needs to be set in a different position from the old wick to increase the flow rate. Have at least 1/4 inch of wick showing at the base of the holder in the rear reservoir and have a small loop at the top of the wick holder. This will increase the length of the wick that is lying flat in the front reservoir. Be careful not to pull the wick so tight that it will be crimped at the top of the wick holder. Remembering at all times, the wick should not be constricted. Otherwise, this will interfere with the dispensing operation. Other AeroWest system maintenance. One way AeroWest works is to allow the passage of air currents through the dispenser, which distributes the odor counteractant throughout the restroom. This same airflow carries airborne dirt that is deposited inside the AeroWest dispenser along with solids from the AeroWest fluid, which may clog the wick. Therefore, it is essential that the AeroWest dispenser is cleaned out no less than every other service. Also, the tubing and complete system needs to be flushed out twice a year using a 50% solution of Clorox or similar household bleach. This will prevent any buildup of dirt that will otherwise interfere with the system. Change the wick every service. To prevent the wick from becoming clogged and to ensure a consistent dispensing rate, change the wick at every monthly service. As you can see, the installation, service, and maintenance of AeroWest dispensers is not complicated. The system will work for you, provided that you follow the simple instructions contained in this tape and the instruction manual. Designed for long-term efficiency, the AeroWest dispenser and system will do the odor counteracting job in your washrooms in the best possible way, exceeding the performance of any other air freshener or odor neutralizing system on the market.